Martine, the artist behind Martine's Fine Art. This was my newest experiment, doing an underpainting with pen pastels on a portrait. But instead of using soft tools that are normally used for applying the pen pastel, I've used Eco Tool brushes. Actually, they are makeup brushes, but surprisingly they work wonderful with the pen pastel. I pre-mix basic colors on a palette, in this case a plate from my kitchen. It's really easy to adjust colors a little. The only difficult thing is you can't see what you're mixing when the powder is on the plate. So a scrap piece of pastel matte to test colors is really handy. The Eco Tools come in different sizes. For this flower, for example, I used the smaller ones. You don't need all the colors of pen pastel. You can mix them really well to create new colors, tints and shades. I love to create all these soft transitions on the flower. It works a little like dry paint. And it's really easy to adjust colors on your drawing too. The pastel matte takes a lot of layers. For the eyes I started with the pastel pencils. They are really detailed, of course, and for detailed work the fine point of the pastel pencils work a lot easier than the brushes. And again I have to layer several layers of pastel to create nice and deep tones. But the paper takes a lot of layers, so that isn't a problem at all. And a good thing, you can layer lighter colors on top of darker ones. That's so easy. One thing about pastel pencils is the sharpening. I have a swordfish crank-handled one and it gives me nice points. When it doesn't work that well anymore, I can clean it by sharpening a cheap graphite pencil in it. But in the end, the sharpener gets really blunt and then I have to replace the blades. Here you can see how I mix and test the skin tones. Of course, I have to test the colors on a scrap piece. In general, I premix a darker and a lighter tone. Then I adjust that tone a little by adding more or less of a pigment. Then, of course, I experienced what I call the value trick. How we perceive values depends on the colors next to it. In general, value means how dark or how light color is. So when I first applied the dark skin tone, it seemed quite dark. But when I added color to the rest of the face, I had to darken it much more. That's because when you add the first color, you see all the white of the paper and you perceive the dark skin tone as really dark. But next to colors, it didn't seem so dark anymore. A trick to solve this a little is using a mid-tone color for the paper. Using the pen pastels was really fun and it worked quite fast. I worked on a pastel matte board, but next time I will use the normal pastel matte again. It bended too much, even the tape couldn't hold it flat. With the base layer in place, I started the refining layer. In this layer, I adjust skin tones, values, I create depth and of course I add details. When I blend, I can use a paper stump. Sometimes I use a color shaper, that's a kind of rubber brush, and sometimes I use a soft applicator. I know I shouldn't do it, but I sometimes even use my fingers. Here you can see that adding a few shadows creates depth, and these are really essential to create depth between the shirt and her neck, of course. The jacket is a little out of focus, so I don't add all the teeny tiny details here. Then I have to add another really essential shadow. That's a shadow between her chin and the neck. And when you want a 3D effect, you really have to add that shadow. The camera washes away a little of the color, but I kept layering and layering till I was completely satisfied. And when you want to learn this project from me, the project is on my Patreon channel. I will put a link in the video description, and I would love to see you there. I will provide you with the reference, the line drawing, the exact materials and colors I've used, and of course the real-time videos. So grab your art supplies and color the world. Have a nice day.